Hello and welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do, and we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and our two hell kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria, and this is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I'm making, whether I'm knitting or spinning or sewing or potentially weaving. It is just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are a million voices on the internet vying for your attention, and you saw whatever this is and decided to give it a go, and that makes you a rad human. If you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. You already know what time it is. Welcome back to the channel. So, hello, I'm back from my now what seems annual summer hiatus. This is now a thing that seems to happen, is that summer happens. And I just need to take a breather. You know, life happens, things come up at work, things just get a little bit wonky. It's now 2 summers in a row that I've had to do this. So we're just gonna say that this is maybe the ebb and flow of my life, is that summer comes and I just need to go to ground. But in particular, there was a particular reason that I had to hermit a little bit this year, and that's because I was prepping my class for Flock. So this is gonna be introduction. This is gonna be the Flock vlog and haul. Very small, I would say, modest haul for me, but this will be the Flock vlog and haul. I was not very good at filming this weekend. I think what happened was normally Joshua goes with me to fiber events, and so he does all the recording, and when he doesn't go with me to events, I forget to record because I'm out here living. But I will share with you the modest bits that I did record. We will talk about my haul, we'll talk about my teaching experience. But yes, in particular this year, the reason that I had to go to ground was to get ready for my Flock class. For context, I pitched the class to Jess and Caroline that was all about spinning for a sweater. So spinning an intentional yarn was I think it was like fiber to finished object. Spinning an intentional yarn was like the full name of my class. But I pitched this to Jess and Caroline and they were like, yes. And then I was like, oh no, I have to actually teach this class now. And going up into the event, all my friends, my husband, everyone in my life was just like, you're going to be great. You're going to be great. This is going to be great. I was a bundle of anxiety. I was so anxious. I was so incredibly anxious about this. And I know this material, right? Like I know this backwards and forwards. I could do this at the drop of a hat, but I think there's something very different. And this is what I was trying to explain to people when they were like, why are you freaking out so much? I am so sweaty. I am so sorry. I'm so sweaty. They were like, why are you freaking out so much? I was like, it's one thing to sit here in my living room by myself where no one can see me and maybe Joshua can hear me and deliver material. And it's something completely different to be in the same room with people and I'm watching it land and I'm watching the silly things that come out of my mouth be delivered to people and crossing my fingers and hoping that they're understanding what I'm saying and that I'm delivering information in a way that is actionable and received well and that they understand what I'm saying. So it was a bundle of anxiety. I spent a month working on my class. I spun a bunch of samples. I think I did a little bit of a sweep of my classroom. So if I did, I will put that over top while I'm talking. I spun a bunch of samples. I brought 2 vests that I had knit from hand spun to use as demos. I knit a bunch of swatches. And then I was talking to one of my friends about this and she was like, oh, you don't have handouts. This is like 3 days before I left. And I was like, oh no. And then I made handouts. And then since I made handouts, I got folders and I put like note paper and pens. And then I was like, what would I appreciate in a class? So I got gummy bears. So like I set my classroom up. So I taught so Flock was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I taught Friday and Sunday. So I arrived Wednesday night. Let's go back. So I arrived Wednesday night and flying right after work was a mistake. I will probably never do that again, but I really wanted to maximize my time off. So I worked the full day Wednesday and then I went to the airport and I flew. And that was probably not my finest hour. I had a bunch of like kerfluffles in the airport. TSA at JFK did not like that I had my Starling in my suitcase and took it apart, which really influenced my ability to teach my classes because I couldn't figure out how to put it back together properly. So that was fun. I mean, thankfully the class was not demo focused. It was more theory focused and I needed to do a few demos, but they worked. I realized that my ISO is all wrong. So we're going to pause for a second because I'm looking very, very washed out. So just a second. Yes, that's where I like my lighting. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, again, thankfully the class was not a demo-based class. It was mostly theory, but there were demos involved, and I was able to do them, just not well. And I was really fighting with my machine. But yeah, but TSA at JFK did not like it. So coming back home, I did put it in my suitcase and I checked it. But I was worried about checking it, so I put it in my carry-on so I could keep an eye on it. And apparently that was also a mistake. There were several mistakes made. But I arrived. I didn't get to my hotel till like 12:30 Seattle time, which is 3:30 East Coast time, which is the coast that I live on. And so I'd already been awake for almost 24 hours, and I just needed to sleep. I like hit the wall so hard. I was like full on crying in the airport, hitting the wall hard. You know when that exhaustion sets in and you're by yourself? I don't travel alone. So for context, things are falling. For context, I don't travel alone. And I definitely don't fly alone. So this was like a big stretch for me. I was teaching, I was traveling alone, and this was the first time I was getting on a plane by myself, as in like my entire life. I was like, as an adult, I was like I did this as children, like my entire life. So freaking out in the airport, I was so tired. I was so tired. So I finally get to my hotel room. I sleep like a dead person. Thursday, I took a car into downtown to walk around downtown and also to pick up my handouts. So I went to FedEx. I got my handouts. I went to Target to get some miscellaneous supplies to set up my classroom. And then I treated myself to a lobster roll and like an incredible cup of clam chowder. And I sat there and I just watched people walk around. I did a ton of people watching on Thursday. I was just hibernating mentally and preparing to teach this class. So I was like kind of hunkering down, looking at people. I watched so much Food Network that weekend because for some reason that's where my like brain just, if I just need background noise and I don't want to think about what's going on, Food Network is what's going on. So I watched so much Food Network that weekend. I read a bunch on Thursday and I was just like, whew, we're going to do this. I wake up to Friday to my hype team. Everybody from home, you're going to be great. You're going to be great. You're going to be great. I get up Friday. I go to the venue and I set up my class. And then I teach my class and everything was great. Like everything was great. I felt like I had really hit my stride 10 minutes in. Like the first 10 minutes, I was like, hi. Also, the fun thing about teaching is, and I don't know why I expected this, but I expected a lot of my students to come from people who watch the podcast. And it was maybe 40% both classes of people who watch the podcast and 60% of people who had no idea who I was. And my class sections were from like 20 to 25 people between Friday and Sunday. So it was really fun when I'm like, everyone knows how I deliver information, to realize that, oh no, I'm in a room full of strangers and they're all going to think I'm crazy. This is great. But I really hit my stride after, like, after we do our introductions, blah, blah, 15 minutes in, I could feel it lock in. And then I was just off to the races and I could see people nodding and I could see people taking notes. And it was really, really good. It felt really good. And I was like, okay, I am doing the thing correctly and I'm doing the thing that I meant to do. And then I got a bunch of like email feedback about like how informative the class was. And that also felt really good. So I finished teaching. I got downstairs Friday to where the vendors were setting up, and then I just sat on the floor. I hung out the whole weekend with Gabby of Plies and Hellhounds, and Lindsay of Larkspur Knits, and Lydia of Bad Bangs. That was like my core group. And I would say of, but those are just like Gabby's a dyer, Lindsay's a designer. So those are like their designer tags, whatever. And then Lydia is just one of my favorite humans on the planet. And so that was my core group for the weekend. And I got downstairs and I just sat on the floor of Gabby's booth and I was like, I'm done. I did it. It's like a big relief. Like the way the anxiety just sort of like sloughed off my body after I finished that class was incredible. And then that Friday, we took the ferry over to Bainbridge Island to Lamb and Kid, where Lindsay was giving a talk, which was really cool. So I've never been to the Lamb and Kid, obviously never been to Seattle, but Bainbridge Island was delightful. The ferry was delightful. The whole experience was great. And also watching Lindsay give her talk was just like, Gabby and I just had like stars in our eyes. We're like, oh, look, she's so cool. This is incredible. So after that, we hung out in the store and then we went into dinner and then everyone back to their separate ways where people were sleeping. And I slept like a rock that Friday night. Saturday, I was taking Andrew and Mallory's steeking class. So I got up and I went to class, which was really cool. I've steeked once. And that one experience was so agonizing and so stressful that I was like, I'm never doing it again. Coming out of her class, I was like, I'm going to do this all the time. I'm turning all the cardigans into steeks. I am no longer knitting flat. If I ever have to, I'm steeking everything. The class was really, really good. And then I like hung out in Gabby's booth and I sold yarn. I was like, I don't really want to walk around the floor. Can I sit here and work register and vend? And Gab was like, sure. So I ended up like vending at Plies and Hellhounds. So everyone that came up to me and said hello while I was hanging out there, thank you for saying hi. I hope you love your yarn. Gabby is an incredible dyer. So I hope you love your yarn. And I did that. That's what I did on Saturday. Saturday evening, I think we just took it low. Yeah, we had a really low-key evening. I think everyone was just tired. I'm trying to remember what I did. We just got dinner and then again called it a night relatively early because everyone was just tired. And I also knew that I had to teach again on Sunday. So I didn't want to do anything too involved to make sure that I was in tip-top shape on Sunday because Friday went so well and I needed Sunday to go great. I got to my classroom Sunday, set up, did the class. Everything went great again. It was just like, was it a fluke on Friday or can I do this again? The upside was I was teaching the same class twice. So I had already, I practiced my slides on Thursday. I practiced my slides again Saturday night, but I was teaching the same class twice. Was already pretty familiar with the material. And the students that I had for both classes, is it students? Is it the people who come? What is the right word? The people who signed up for my classes were for both groups were really, really good, brought really interesting questions. So like the Q&A section was really dynamic. I really enjoyed like interacting with everyone. Also, it's really cool putting your handspun in other people's hands and watch people go, oh, okay, I understand now. Because like so much of spinning is theory-based, right? Especially when we're talking about spinning an intentional yarn. We're talking about math. We're talking about wraps per inch and grist and twist angle and twist per inch and how all those, like making minute changes to all of those things changes your yarn. And I feel like a lot of that can be theoretical. So when you get your yarn into someone's hand and you're like, here's this thing that I'm talking about. These two yarns are exactly the same wraps per inch, same twist per inch, one's woolen, one's worsted. And you get to put that in someone's hand and you get to watch it click. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. Now you can go take this information and make intentional choices about your yarn and then spin the yarn that you want for the project that you want. And that was really, really cool. And then Sunday was my shopping day. I did do a bunch of meandering. On Saturday, I ran into my friends at they used to be called the Young Knitters, but I think all of them are over 30 now. I guess we're still the Young Knitters. And they were all wearing tank tops with the word knit embroidered on it. So I stopped them and I made them talk to me about their tank tops, and I will insert that footage here. So I just got out of Andrea's class and I was walking down the steps and I ran into some really, really rad people who are going to talk to us about their really, really rad clothes. Hello, say hello, rad people. Okay, so we will find out what the inspiration was behind all of the fun knit pieces, and then maybe people will tell us about what yarn they used. Who wants to go first?
Oh. Amanda.
Okay.
Amanda's going first.
Amanda. So we're getting camera. Yeah. Okay. So tell us about your tea. Let's hold it so you can see.
Oh yeah, here's my tea. Okay.
Yes.
So I am doing, this is the Nolita tank by Tori Yu. And we all decided we wanted to knit something similar this year, but we weren't in the mood to knit the same thing. So we thought we would duplicate stitch knit on whatever made us feel good. So this is mine, and it's a cotton merino blend.
Incredible. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
I'm going to turn this so I can actually see you, because that's easier. I'm doing that. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jillian. I knit the Rift by Jack Cieslak, and it's in linen quill, and the main color is the color blue.
It is a blue.
It is a blue.
Yeah.
It looks, I've been calling it cobalt, but cobalt is actually a different linen quill color. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Rad. Okay.
All right. I did the Totally Tank. Is that what we just said? Yeah. Totally Tank by Jessie May in Viking fiber drinking horn with as big knit as I could across. Yeah, that's me.
Hello, I'm Natasha. I made the mini mock neck by Jessie May, and then my yarn is from Elise of Sunday Fiber Co. She couldn't be with us here, so shout out to Elise. And I did a curly tee because that's how I write my tees.
Hi, I'm Emma. I did the Tolsta tank by Kreya Bea, the DK one. I held together scraps of fingering weight together to make this fun marl. And then it was a Hello Stella fingering weight for my knit. So yeah.
And then on Sunday, I also ran it, not Sunday, Saturday. Oh my God, the days are blurring together. On Saturday, I also ran into the lovely humans of Pacific Knit West, and they were all wearing the same ZZ Textiles color, but in different patterns. And I was like, oh, this is super clever. So please talk to me about your t-shirts and your tank tops. And so I will also put that here so you can hear them talk about it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Emily. I am Emily Kurt on Instagram and Gently Chaotic Knits on YouTube. And I'm wearing the Strata Vest by Jack Cieslak. And the yarn is ZZ Textiles Natural Fingering in the colorway Nordlies, I think is how I say it. And I've knit this a couple times. This is my second time knitting it, and I like it a lot. It's fingering weight and goes up pretty quick. And yeah, I like it a lot.
My name's Maya. I'm on Instagram as What Maya Made, and I made the Soho top by Kadri. Same yarn. You're gonna see a pattern, and it went really quick. It was like you held fingering double. I needed a fast knit and a win after not finishing a garment for quite some time. So it was a fun one. I would do it again.
Hi, I'm Meghan, and you can find me at A Naughty Mess on YouTube and Instagram. And I made the Amaretta blouse by 100 Acre Wool. And I thought that it was a really, really fun pattern. It's more of a recipe. You do a pattern kind of to here, and then you can just pick all your finishing. So I actually knit this top in the round, and this is a faux button band, so it's all pretend. And then I just sewed it down. So I didn't have any gaping today while I'm walking around enjoying talking to everybody. And this is also Nordlies, but this is her silk sock. So it is superwash wool and silk.
Hi, my name is Ariel. I'm Ari Knits on YouTube and on Instagram, and this top is the Penelope top by Sari Nordlin, and the yarn I use is ZZ Textiles Silk Sock in the colorway Nordlies, and I really like it. It's knit top down, and so you end with the lace, and it's really nice. I like the little I-cord, and I love a good bow, and so it's all the good things I love.
And then Sunday was my day to shop. I did not do much shopping. I did not want to. One, I didn't have much. I knew I didn't have much space to bring yarn home, because I had to take so much stuff for my demo. Again, I took 2 vests. I took a sweater. I took 9 skeins of yarn. I had my spinner. I had fiber. I had a bunch of stuff. So I knew that I did not have enough, as much space in my luggage suitcase to fit a bunch of yarns. I wanted to be really intentional about my choices. And also, I have so much. There was no reason for me to bring things home unless I really, really had a reason. So I'll show you what I got. So this is a bundle of washed fin, and I grabbed this from 40 Winks and Fibers, and her business model is really, really clever. She just gets wool from her fiber shed, and like raw wool from her fiber shed, from shepherds in her shed, and then washes it and sells it to people who want to process. And so like sometimes the biggest barrier to processing is 1, getting a whole fleece or even a half fleece. That's a lot of wool. And then 2 is scouring. And so you end up with like 3 pounds. Even if you get a half fleece, you're getting 3 pounds. You got to figure out to wash, and then maybe you don't love it. And so like getting wool in like these small little bundles is a really smart way of approaching processing from the beginning. So she had a bunch of stuff. I love fin. I freak out for fin, so that's what I went for. It's 8 ounces. It's kind of multicolored, so you see there's some lighter grays in here, but there's also some like darker grays, and there's some like deeper grays back here. Washed really well. I pulled out a few locks. I tested it for soundness. Yeah, just washed really well. Beautiful crimp. And I love fin, and I haven't spun fin in a really long time. So I did grab this, and also I went over there to chit chat, because anytime I see people, you go to these events, and they tend to be knitting heavy. So anytime I see fiber, especially fiber like this, anytime I see fiber at a knitting event, I do go over and I talk to them to make sure that like, hey, if no one comes over to you and says hello, I think what you're doing is incredible. Thank you for doing it, and thank you for bringing it to this event. So I did go over there, and then we ended up swapping phone numbers, and I look forward to running into her at future events. She's going to Rhinebeck, so we're probably going to make time to like sit and spin at some point and just like talk shop. I say talk shop like I have one of those, but just talk like the industry, and talk about what it's like to be talking to shepherds and sourcing local wool and what that's like. Yeah. So I got about 8 ounces. I'm going to card this up into a bat, and I'm going to spin it. and then probably do nothing with it, because that was the best part of teaching the classes. I was like, okay, so you have your yarn, go knit your sweater. And then I was like, but what if you're like me and you just want to spin and not knit things? What do you do? How do you approach sweater spinning? And then I was just talking about all the yards of yarn that I've made that I've done nothing with, because that's classic Tazhi energy. I spin for the sake of spinning. And then if it grows up into something, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't, and that's okay too. So yes, I have 8 ounces of this beautiful fin that I'm really looking forward to getting on the behemoth and seeing what this does when it's opened up. It's really pretty. While we're talking fiber, I did get this braid of dyed fiber from Skein and the Stitch. And people who've been here long term know that I don't really buy top much anymore. I'm really committed to working from raw. And there's just, it doesn't like scratch my itch. And also, again, I have so much, but this is her exclusive blend, and it's Rambouillet, Romney, and Cormo. And I was just like, oh, that's clever. And then while I was talking to her, she was talking to me about the process about it, getting it custom milled. And I was like, pause. And I went to get my camera and I recorded her talking about it. So I'm going to stick that in here so you can listen to her talk about her custom house blend.
So I'm going to introduce 2 blends that I had custom milled for my business. So the first one is one that I have designed for the Yorkshire collection, which is premiering on the 30th of August for pre-order, and that is 75% BFL and 25% Wensleydale. So I really wanted the luster breed of the Wensleydale with the British provenance of BFL, and I thought it just really went nicely together. And it's a surprisingly silky spin if you have never worked with Wensleydale or BFL, and I really loved it. It surprised me when I first started working with it. So, and the other base that I've had custom milled, I'm referring to as my house blend. This is a blend that is exclusive to my business that I'm going to be carrying for all of my pre-orders going in the future, and that is Rambouillet, Kent, Romney, and Cormo. And I really like it because the Rambouillet adds a little bit of springiness, the Kent Romney adds a little touch of character and a little bit more texture, and the Cormo is that really beautiful smooth draft. So it just works up really nicely, and all the properties of that fiber just sing really well together.
So this is the braid I bought. The color is Ghostland. I think I'm saying that right. Just pretty pastels, all the things that are in my wheelhouse. There's a little bit of like that muddy kind of rosy brown color, kind of taupey color that pops up in the braid that I think is going to stop this from being super sweet and super pastel. But I'm really looking forward to opening this up and seeing what happens with that Romney blended into the fine wools. I love a good blend. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to take a fine wool and add a long wool to it and see what happens. And it's just done for me in this really beautiful packaging. Now, she's based in Yorkshire, out in the UK. She did say that she was going to be shipping to the US. I did ask her, and we were talking a little bit about the tariff situation, because that is the state of fiber these days. But she did say that she was going to be shipping to the US. So I will link her shop below if you want to see. She also has a BFL Wensleydale blend. And again, I had to be smart about what I put in my bag, but I almost bought one of each. And I was just more interested in trying the fine wool, long wool blend. And then she has all this dyed, she has this milled into yarn, and then the same colors dyed on yarn. So if you're not a spinner, but you think this base is really interesting, she also has it on yarn. And anytime I find an interesting base in the wild, I'm like, please tell me more about it, because interesting bases are interesting. And the last thing I got fiber-wise was I spent an inordinate amount of time at the Skagit booth. I was so happy to see them. I actually almost started crying in their booth. I was so happy to see Anna and Jess, and they were sharing a booth with Sarah of San Juan Wool Works, who I also really admire and really appreciate. And I was so happy to see all 3 of them, and they all gave me the biggest hug, and I literally almost started crying in their booth because they're incredible. If you're new here, I am a huge fan of Skagit. They're obviously out on the West Coast, and they're doing incredible things in their mill. I learned long draw on a braid of Romney, well, a bump of Romney from Skagit. I spin fiber from Skagit all the time. I buy fiber from Skagit all the time. And anytime Skagit has a sale, I'm yelling at the internet that they should also be buying fiber from Skagit. They're incredible. Their prep is brilliant. They get these really interesting fleeces and really interesting blends. And I think what they're doing is, for American wool, because if you're not familiar, we have very few mills in America, and we have very few scouring plants in America. So most of our wool is not even if it's American grown, it is processed overseas and then sent back to America. We don't have much American wool. So when I see 2 incredibly intrepid humans doing this really cool thing, I'm all about it. So I got to hang out with them. And here's what I got from Skagit. So this is a CVM Lincoln Cross. It is a very cool gray. This is the better color. It's getting blown out closer to the camera. This is the right color. And then I got a braid of Icelandic from Lydia's flock. So a bit darker gray. This I'm going to spin as singles, because my favorite way to spin Icelandic is to leave it as a singles yarn. And this, I don't know. I'm wondering if the Lincoln in this might also lend itself to a singles yarn. CVM I would normally apply, and I would apply for, because of how squishy it is. But because it's a cross, I might experiment and also leave it as a singles and see what happened. But it was really, really cool to talk to them. I did bully all of my students into going to the Sketch-It booth and going down there and just buying fiber. Because a lot of people are like, I want to learn long draw. And I was like, okay, so here's the fibers that you should be learning on. And they were like, where would I get that? And I was like, funny story. My friends are downstairs. Go say hi. So I did send a bunch of people to the Sketch-It booth, but it was so nice to see them. It was so nice to hug them. You know, you talk to people online and you build this like, these connections over this big thing that you're all interested in, and then you go to meet them in person and they're so warm and so affirming, and it was so great. I had such a good time talking to Anna and Jess and Sarah, and I really hope to run out to the West Coast again and to get to hang out with them, and also to get to see the mill. I really want to see the mill. But yes, here's what I got from Sketch-It. During Andrea's staking class, either during or after, she was wearing her nebula sample, and I've wanted to make the nebula for some time. And I just kept talking myself out of it. I honestly don't know why I haven't approached it. But the Lamb and Kid had their Birdie DK base, which is a DK weight Surrey. It's Surrey alpaca and silk. DK weight, so about 250 yards per skein. And so I did get a sweater quantity in the color, is this balsamic? In the color balsamic, to make a nebula. And I honestly think this is going to be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. It's knit at a lofty enough gauge that I might be able to get. We're going to talk about the road to Rhinebeck next time, but I have a lot of things that I need to get done between now and mid-October. And I'm really hoping this will be one of those things, because it looked, so I saw it on multiple people and it looked so good on everybody. That high-low hem is so clever. It looked so good on everybody. And I don't have a straight Surrey or even a straight mohair garment. And I really want just like a big fluffy cloud sweater. I got to touch Andrea's while she was wearing it. Oh, I got to take it. Melody and I were hanging out together when we ran into Andrea, and it was really fun to like, I'll put the picture. I don't know that I have the picture. I think Melody has the picture, but if I have the picture, I'll put the picture. It was so good to like run into both of them at the same time. We got to talk Melly knits, and it was really, we missed her. We missed her. It would have been great if she was there. But yeah, she was wearing her nebula. And so I grabbed these 4 skeins to knit it up. It is 1,000 yards. So I should be able to, I'm hoping if my knitting mojo comes back, because it has vacated the premises. If my knitting mojo comes back, I'm hoping that this will be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. But yeah, I grabbed this while I was at Flock. I fully blame this purchase on Lydia, because she went to this booth and then told me about it, and then I had to go back. But I went to Tumalo Fiber. They're an Oregon-based dyer, and they are doing a bunch of cool things on cool bases. They had like a Shetland base, a Cornwall alpaca base, a bunch of cool stuff. But I did get this, because my plan is to make a coloring book tee, the fingering weight version. So I think the raglan's the worsted weight. So the coloring book tee by Amy Scher. And I'm going to have the dark blue be my main color, and then stripe this burgundy in for like a super moody version. Because it feels my vibe. This is on their Shetland base. So the blue is called Nefarious, and the burgundy color is called Beetroot. And Lydia and I were in that booth for so long, putting together colors, trying to figure out a color combo. And I just kept coming back to this beetroot color. And I was like, I put it next to a peach, and I was like, oh no, it feels too sweet. And then I put it next to a pink, and I was like, it still feels too sweet. And then I put it next to a gray, and I was like, I have so much gray yarn in my closet. And then I picked up this navy, and I was like, oh no, I think this is it. And I think the reason that I had to like, why I kept coming around to it was because sometimes 2 dark colors together, you're like, is that going to be high enough contrast? But I think I think this palette really, really works. And then I walked past the Skagit booth, and Sarah had a sample of a the coloring book tee striped in like narrow stripes in the striped pattern that I'm hoping to do this in. And it felt like the universe was telling me that I made the correct choice. So I'm really, really pleased about this. In theory, I'm also making this for Rhinebeck, but I don't know about that anymore. I don't know that I can get all of it done because I've already cast on 2 of the things that I absolutely, absolutely want to have. And then the nebula is going to be the 3rd. And I don't think I'm making 4 sweaters between now and October. So maybe this will be my birthday sweater. My birthday's in November. Maybe this will be my birth sweater. Also, I have like a November trip planned. So maybe I'll be working on this for that November trip, which we will talk about at a later date, because now we're just talking about Flock. But yes, I got this from Tumalo Fiber. I really liked their booth. They had a bunch of cool bases. Everything I got, I thought was a cool base that I'd never seen before. Speaking of cool bases, we were walking past Le Garçon and I stopped to say hi to Max because I think Max is rad and I think Max's designs are really cool. And they had their British BFL base, so it's their BFL Massam base, marled. Like, can you see that? Marled. And they had a bunch of different colors and I was like, oh no, because I love a good marl. I love a good marl and I never knit with them, but I love a good marl. And this color, this is Jill and Vincent, they had knit into a sample of a vest. And I almost bought a vest quantity because the sample was so cool. And then I was like, all right, Tatiana, be realistic. Like, are you going to knit a vest? Are you going to get to a vest? So I bought a single skein to make a hat. Because Lydia reinforces all of my base impulses. But Lydia and I both agree that this color on me would be great as a hat. No, I wasn't with Lydia, I was with Lindsay. But we both agreed that this color would be good on me as a hat. And it's 250 yards. I'm sure I could find a basic DK weight hat that would get, I would get out of one skein. Probably not a double brim. Probably not space for a double brim, but like a single brim, like a little beanie situation. I just wanted to try out the base. I've knit with the British DK. It's the same BFL Massam base that I think Sonder uses. So I've knit with this base before. But the marl. And then I just went on Instagram and I saw that they have all of their other marl colors up and they're a bunch of interesting. There's like a lavender with a green one. There's like green and gray. There's like blue and green. There's a bunch of interesting pairings. If you're into marls, I would highly recommend going to the Le Garçon site and seeing what they have. I went with the basic rose gold moment because I am nothing if not predictable. I do want to say a quick thank you to Brittany and her husband at Fiber and Forge. They have these little, I've gotten stitch markers from them before. Brittany sent me some fin from her flock and sent me some of these cool stitch markers, and her husband makes them. They're blown glass. And while they were at their booth, they had like a little gotcha machine where if you put a coin in there, you got a little set of stitch markers, and they, oh God, how am I going to do this? They gifted me a little token. So I have all these fun stitch markers and I really do like these. They're very smooth and I use them all the time. So now I have a second set and I just wanted to say thank you because I happened to pass by to talk to her and give her a hug because again, sometimes you talk to fiber people online and then I'm on the opposite coast. So like, and Brittany does not come out to Rhinebeck. Obviously it's a big ask. And so it was really nice to get to see her in person and to get to hug her and to say thank you for the fin because I'm still working my way finning. She sent me 5 colors and I'm working my way through spinning her flock. And now I have more stitch markers and that was really thoughtful. So last yarn. So since I hung out at the Plies and Hellhounds booth, I could not go home without taking Gabby's yarn. This was her show color. This is called Bainbridge. And I got it on the Selkie base, which is non-superwash merino and silk. And I have 1,000 yards of it. I'm thinking either a tank top, like a t-shirt, or probably not a tank top, either a t-shirt or a shawl. I haven't decided yet, but I have 2 skeins of her show color. This teal is, I'm all about this. I feel like you've seen me show this color a bunch, but I'm all about this dreamy teal color. And also since it was her show color, I was just like, well, I have to buy it because it was her show color. She had 2 other colors. There was a green called Union Station, and a red called Atlantica. Those were her 3 show colors. And I almost bought the Union Station and I was staring at this in the Union Station and I have so much green yarn already. I also have so much teal yarn already, but something about the way this base took this color just kept speaking to me. So I have 2 skeins of this. And then on my way out, I did get a single skein of Yugen on Selkie for a design that Lindsay of Larkspur Knits is working on. And I'm going to hold this with hand spun when I get my hands on the pattern. It is, we'll talk about it when I get my hands on the pattern. But when I get my hands on the pattern, I'm going to be holding this with some hand spun for it. So this is what I got from the Plies and Hellhounds booth. Also, these 2 together are really cool. And I think that's my... Oh, I got a t-shirt. I was like, where's my flock t-shirt? I got a flock t-shirt. I did get the one that was on the oatmeal color, and I got it extra large. Like I got a larger size than I normally get because I'm going to crop it. It's very long, but I wanted a wide boxy tee so that I can crop it. So I did get a flock tee. I almost bought a bag. And I'm kind of sad I didn't buy a bag because then I saw people were having like vendors and teachers sign their bag. And I was like, oh, a souvenir bag. That's so clever. And then by the time I went to buy bags, the bag that I would have wanted was sold out. And so I should have done that at the beginning or like pre-order it like a normal person. So I didn't get a bag, but I did get a souvenir tee. And I always get at least a t-shirt or a bag from every fiber festival I go to. I've gotten a Rhinebeck bag every year. And I've gotten sometimes a t-shirt. I've got a t-shirt and a sweater from Maryland Sheep and Wool. And now I have a t-shirt from Flock. And I'm just building a fiber festival library. But that's everything I got. And that's my vlog unpacking the weekend. I had such a brilliant time. When I tell you Jess and Caroline know to put on a show, it was incredible. I've gone to, in the 5 or so years that I've been knitting, I've gone to several events. I've gone to Rhinebeck every year since the pandemic people let it back out. The pandemic people? That is not the right word. That's not the right phrase. I've gone to Rhinebeck every year since the numbers were down enough that we could reopen. I've done a lot of the Rhinebeck pre-events, like the New York Sheep and Wool pre-events, the events that happen on Friday. I've gone to Maryland Sheep and Wool. I haven't gone to like Yarn Centric, but I've gone to like VKL. I've done a fair bit of events up and down the East Coast. And I will tell you that Jess and Caroline put on probably the best run event I've seen. And again, I've not have been doing this for a very long time, but I was talking to a lot of the vendors, and the vendors were saying that it was a really well run event and they all felt really taken care of. I don't want to cry. I've thought about teaching for a really long time, and it's one thing to, again, know that you know your material. It's another thing to wonder if you can deliver that material to people. And the people that I see teach over and over and over again. And so sometimes you wonder, like, how do you get in, right? Like, how do you get your foot in the door to see if that's even a thing that you can do? And I just told me she didn't. Caroline also told me she didn't feel that way, but I felt like they took like a huge chance on like allowing me to teach and then also allowing me to teach my class twice. And I was terrified I was going to crash and burn. I was really terrified I was going to crash and burn. I was terrified that I was going to disappoint them, and I was going to disappoint all of the people who signed up for my class. And this was never going to happen for me again. And so like I went into that weekend with like really, really big feelings. And I came home really energized, and like really fired up to do it again. So would I teach again? 100%. I am fully prepared. Should opportunities arise, fully prepared to take this show on the road. I have a bunch of other, like I was talking to Lindsay about like a class menu. I have a bunch of other classes that I've been working on in the background that I just have not told anybody about because I've just been afraid. But they say do it scared, right? Do it out loud and do it scared. If no one's told you this, do it out loud and do it scared. I have I have a class menu that I've been working on in the background. And I think that I'm going to start pitching it so that I can continue teaching. I've always been very concerned that if we don't keep talking about spinning, there is a universe where it just fades into the ether and it fades into the background. It is not as visible a craft, I think, as knitting is or as crocheting is. And it's not as portable a craft. Well, it can be if you have spindles, but it's not necessarily as portable a craft as knitting or crocheting is. And I think that if we don't keep talking about it, there's a universe where, you know, not necessarily in our lifetime, but maybe the next one, fewer and fewer people are doing it, especially as the people who are teaching it can no longer teach it. Like a lot of the people that I learned to spin from have been doing this for some time and are eventually not going to want to do it anymore. And so I was just like, who's stepping up to like fill in that gap? And I'm not, this sounds really vain. I'm not saying that that's me. What I'm saying is like, I think it's really cool that the opportunity is being made for a next generation of spinning teachers to pop up and start teaching about spinning. And I know a bunch of my other friends teach about spinning in other places. And I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. I'm really grateful for that space. And I'm also really grateful it went well. I'm really, really grateful it went well. To any of my students, if you're watching this, thank you so much for taking a chance on me and for coming to class. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, for the questions, for your patience while my e-spinner was doing super, super insane things. I had such a good weekend, and then I came home and I stared at a wall because I was overstimulated. And I took a day off and I watched a movie and I did nothing that day until I had to go back to work because I'd hit the wall. But it was easily one of the best weekends I've had this year. And I am 10,000% going next year. So all the people who were like, Flock is incredible, they're correct. Flock's incredible. Jess and Caroline nailed it. And I can't wait till next time. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed sitting down and, you know, helping me unpack that weekend. The next video I think will be the road to Rhinebeck, where I start talking about what my plans are for New York State Sheep and Wool, because I got to get going. And then I'm hoping we'll go back to the rhythm of a normal podcast. But again, Rhinebeck chaos is full swing over here, so I don't even know what that will be like. But yes, the next video will definitely be the road to Rhinebeck. I'll talk about what I'm planning on making, and where I'm planning on being if you're interested in finding me. And then hopefully we get back to a normal swing. But that's it. I love you. Go make something fun today.